Hi, folks. I'm Sean Crabtree.
And I'm Cameron Bailey.
We don't want to change the way you do business.
We want to change the way you're thinking about your business.
We want you to have better results, happier clients, and make more money.
Let's get it started.
We are so excited to have you this week. Before we go any further, we just got fussed at before we jumped on this show today. I'm supposed to let you know we've had several comments this week about how do I find you and all these other ways. Listen, go find us on YouTube. Search The Crabtree Group. We're all over the place on YouTube. LinkedIn, Sean Crabtree, Cameron Bailey. Twitter,
TheCrabtreeGroup.com.
Twitter, go to our website,
TheCrabtreeGroup.com. We have links to everything
find us on Twitter.
Website.
So that's not our number one focus. Obviously, our focus is to make this show give you valuable information so that you can
get them dental profits.
Make more money.
I'm trying to get them dental profits, make more money.
So the last time we were together, we talked about the value of you getting your team aligned behind a common vision and overall purpose. We talked about you getting your team aligned behind who it is that you're trying to serve. And one of the things we throw out there is that our belief is at the end of the day, you're trying to serve your vision, you're trying to serve your team, you're trying to serve your customers or your patients, and you're trying to serve your bottom line profitability. And so at the end of the day,
and whatever we're doing, whatever decision we're making, there is a way to serve all four of those things. Not just profitability, not just my customers, right? I got to serve all four.
And that's what we challenged you to do last week. So this week, I want to challenge you in something that we find over and over and over and over again, and that is what we call making sure that your expectation of your team matches your investment of yourself. And so that's what we want to talk about this week. There's a great story. You know, Cameron and I had a client that we worked with for several years. Great team, really, really great doctor, just super, super people. Team was really gung-ho. But unfortunately, the doctor, as the owner of the business,
he was young, and his willingness to invest of himself did not align with his expectations of the members of his team. And so consequently, as you can imagine, this roller coaster of emotions that continued to stair step, on the front end of this thing. I mean, these guys weren't seeing their doctor, who, by the way, owns the business. Who's the entrepreneur?
The entrepreneur, right? The guy that supposedly makes the big checks. They weren't seeing him as having a willingness to invest of himself. I mean, as an example, they're supposed to have maybe an afternoon meeting at 4:30, and if he didn't have any patients, he goes home. And so the team, as you would imagine, begins to question whether or not he's really invested in his own business. That rolls into a resentment, and that turns into, why would I hold myself to a higher standard if you own the business and you're not willing to invest in yourself? And that resentment turns into complete resignment, where it's like, I'm not going to do it if you're not going to do it. We never want you to be in that shape. Unfortunately, we've got more than one story like that, but that is probably the best one. Cameron talks about my favorite football team, or my favorite football coach.
You talk about him. I don't talk about him.
Well, listen, if you're an NCAA football fan, whether you like him or whether you don't, you have to respect what Nick Saban has done out there.
Who's Nick Saban?
Come on, man. In Tuscaloosa, Nick Saban is one of my idols. Nick Saban has the ability, again, love him or hate him, this guy gets the very best out of the people around him. He gets the best out of his players. He gets the best out of his offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, quarterback coach, line coach. I mean, this guy absolutely gets the very best out of the people around him. And I would submit that one of the ways he does that is because of his investment of himself. You know, you mentioned Michael Jordan. Great example.
Michael Jordan, first one to be at practice.
I believe is one of the greatest athletes of my time.
Michael Jordan is the best basketball player of all time.
I think he's just one of the greatest athletes of all time. But
so Michael Jordan is always the first one to be at practice, and he's the last one to always leave. He's willing to invest in himself, so therefore the people around him always get better. Right? The way in sports, the way you get better is you play against the highest level of competition. In business, the way you get better is you put yourself in situations where you have to get a little bit uncomfortable, right? In business, the way you get better is you get
a little bit what?
Uncomfortable. You have to be willing to stretch. You have to be willing to get out of your comfort zone because you're trying to build a culture where everybody around you on your team is better because you're investing of yourself as a leader.
And if you are afraid to be uncomfortable, then you are not going to be successful.
Entrepreneurship is hard, man. Everybody wants to be a business owner, or they think that you're going to have some level of freedom when it comes with entrepreneurship.
And you can,
but
it
takes so much time of investing of yourself before you can actually achieve that moment where you have freedom.
It's not hard. It's just different.
It's different, yeah.
And so there's 2 or 3 things that we want to give you when it comes to this concept of your willingness to invest and having that align with your expectation of the people around you. Number 1, drop some knowledge on us there.
Step 1 is you want to make sure that every expectation that you have in your mind serves what the vision that you have set for your business.
Whether that's an expectation of yourself
or an expectation of the people around me, or what
your customers, your patients, whatever it is. And by the way, everything we're talking about, as every show is, we're talking about the dental practice, but the same thing is true if you're an attorney. The same thing is true if you're a CPA. The same thing is true no matter what business you're in.
Any service industry.
The concepts are exactly the same. So you said, number 1, make sure that every expectation you have as a leader
serves the vision.
Vision.
Make sure every expectation I have in my mind as of myself, of my team, as a leader, it serves the vision that I'm trying to achieve. Step 2 is you want to find ways to always be the example. If I'm the leader, if I'm the owner of the business, I want to find ways that I'm living the example for the people around me to see. If our morning huddle starts at 7:30, I want to be here at 7:15, already prepared and ready to roll. I want to be the first one in, the last one out.
Because you're being the example.
I want to be the example because I want my team, in my situation, I want my team to know that I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I'm willing to take it to the line every single time. I'm willing to be here and do whatever needs to be done because that's my expectation of you. I want you to know that I'm willing to do that too.
So you're saying find ways to be the example.
Find ways.
Look for opportunities to be the example. That's a good example.
Don't take a shortcut. Right. Find ways to live the example for your people to see, your team.
So like give us explain that one, Lucy.
I just did. Find ways to be the example. You want to be living.
You don't even know what that. You don't even know what that. When I say explain that, Lucy, you don't even know what
that's
that
old, man. I don't talk that old stuff. Explain that, Lucy. Come on, man. That's black and white television.
Black and white. All right, we'll explain it though. Give us an example of finding a way to be the example. You said showing up at a morning meeting.
Showing up.
What else?
Being willing to communicate openly and directly with your team.
If that's an expectation you have, that's a good one. That's what I was trying to get to because that's what I was going to go with. This is one that we find consistently. We learned a long time ago that open communication has got to be a part of your culture. We say this all the time. If communicating about a problem is the problem, then you're never going to be able to solve problems. And so communicating openly is a big deal. Now, if you as the leader of the ship, if we've established that that is one of the things that we're going to do, and you as the leadership are not communicating openly, you're gossiping with this person about the other person, or you're allowing one of your team members to come to you about another team member, then you are not being the example. You're going against the very expectation that you have. And what it communicates is that you're not investing of yourself, but yet you're expecting the people around you are going to invest in themselves. That's not going to work long term. It's not going to work short term.
Right.
It's not going to work any term.
Yeah. You've got to be the one that is blazing the trail.
And, back to that example we were talking about, that was one of the things that this particular doctor that we're talking about that was one of the challenges that he was having as well. And so consequently, there was no trust on the team, because in the team's view, one of them was coming to him about the others, and nobody knew. We weren't all on the same page because there was not that level of trust. So he was, coming in late. He was leaving early. He was
not communicating,
not
holding anybody accountable,
but yet expecting the team to hold people accountable, expecting the team to be there early and stay late, expecting the team to communicate openly, and yet he was not being the example. And there's no way that the people around you are going to step up and be everything that you expect them to be unless you are being the example.
Number 3, you want to be above reproach when it comes to your own expectations. What would you say about that?
Which is kind of like what we're talking about in number 1. I mean, whether almost regardless of whatever your expectation is, you want to make sure that you are beyond reproach. You want to make sure that you are beyond a question about where your commitment lies. If your expectation of your team is A, then you are living A+. If your expectation of your team is B, then you are living B++. And so always in every scenario across the board, you are above reproach when it comes to that expectation. It goes a little bit in line with number 2 we talked about, finding ways to be the example. But what we're talking about here is really a step further as the leader of the ship. What is it you said earlier?
As the leader of the ship, you have got to display the leadership.
Otherwise, you cannot lead the ship.
Absolutely. I mean, you don't have to do this stuff, guys. Let's be clear. You do not have to support your vision. You do not have to be the example. You do not have to be above reproach. But if you do not, then your culture will suffer, and therefore your dental profits will not be there.
And there's no way that we're going to not talk about the things that are going to get you there, because our goal is to get you dental profits.
Exactly. And you guys are entrepreneurs, man. Being an entrepreneur is hard. You don't have to be an entrepreneur. You can go work for somebody else and have a JOB and not have to worry about any of this stuff. But if you're going to be an entrepreneur and you're going to step out there and put your shingle on the roof and you're trying to put your name on the door,
then you might have to be willing to be uncomfortable.
Yes. So, step 1, 2, 3.
I don't think we did. The timing wasn't right on that.
You want to try it again? You might have to find a way to be
uncomfortable
to stretch.
And if you're not willing to be uncomfortable, then you are probably not the kind of person who needs to own a business. I mean, I hate to say it that way. No, I'm serious. I mean, if you're not willing to be uncomfortable, let's face it. I mean, entrepreneurship, the whole thing is uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
You are going to be in uncomfortable situations, and you're going to be in uncomfortable scenarios.
Until you can get to the point where you can be comfortable.
The great news is, I heard somebody say this the other day. I can't remember who it was. The way you build self-confidence is to face your uncomfort and then face it again and then face it again. And pretty soon what was uncomfortable becomes comfortable. And that's the way you build self-confidence. And that's the way you build your self-confidence as the leader and the captain of the ship. And that is just the bottom line.
Boom.
It. That is the bottom line. So what we're talking about here is over-investing of yourself to make sure that you as the leader, whatever your expectations are perhaps less than your investment of yourself. And if you are displaying that to your team, then you are moving in the right direction of getting the very best out of the people around you. But make no mistake, again, they are never going to step up and be all that they can be if they see you halfway.
Yeah, not putting the effort in.
If they see you shortcutting it. And so we're talking about expectation of your team versus investment of yourself. You know what we should do? We should do a call. We should have callers.
Yeah.
We should do a call-in show.
Yeah. I don't know what they would say.
You don't like that idea?
I don't know what they would say.
Well, I think it'd be cool to have. Maybe we should work on that.
We might do a call-in show.
I think we should work on it. So those are the 3 basic takeaways. You want to recap?
Sure. So step one is you want to make sure that every expectation in your mind is supporting the vision that you're trying to achieve. Step two, you got to find ways to be the example all the time. Show up all the time. Be above reproach is step three. So if I'm showing up the way I'm expecting my other people to show up on my team, then I will be above reproach. I want to be living with integrity. I want to be living the dream, right?
So if you're riding down the road, and you're listening to this podcast, I hope you took notes on those three things. I mean, at the end of the day, if you are the leader, and if those three things are not happening, listen, there's no way in the world that you're going to have systems take hold in your practice. There's no way that you're going to have structure and organization happen in your practice if you as the leader are not over-investing in yourself. There's no way that you're going to have processes take place with long-term implementation if you are not if you're not being the example, if you're not making sure that your expectations support your vision, and if you're not making sure that you are above reproach in terms of whatever those expectations are.
If you put those three things at your focus, you will achieve profitability. There's no doubt about it. Right. If those are your focus, you're not focused working on your business. I mean, if you're focused on that, you're not focused working in your business. You're focused working on your business, and then the profitability will happen.
And that's the way it happens. And it cannot work. I mean, there's no way that you can get to step two without getting step one in place. Yes. And that is absolutely step one. So thank you so much for joining us this week on Dental Profits. I hope you're enjoying the show. Go check us out on YouTube. When you find us, search the Crabtree Group. When you find us, hit subscribe and share all of the good news that we're laying out there for you in terms of our prophecies.
Prophecy.
And so the commandment for this week, once again, is over-invest in yourself and then under-expect from your team. Those three things. Make sure, number one, that your expectations match your vision. Number two, make sure that you're finding ways to be the example. And number three, make sure that you are above reproach with all your expectations. Do these things. This is our commandment. Do these things. And our prophecy is you will sow the seeds of higher patient care, and that will put you on the road to reaping the rewards of higher profits.
Dental Profits, making more money.
And that's what we want you to do here at Dental Profits. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you in next week's show. Goodbye.